Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of October 2025. I hope you are well. I'm using the Edmund Dulac Tarot for you here today. Things to tell you before the reading begins: if it resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, then there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's via the first link in the description box below. That takes you to Selfie. Alternatively, you can come over to my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix on the Circle platform. There you can get access to all of the extended content for all of the signs for no extra cost beyond the membership fee. And you can hang out with an extraordinary group of people. Extended content also includes weekly energy readings too, so there's a thing. If you join at the higher tier, then you get access to all of the classes that we run over there. You can come and attend live, or you can catch up because all of the recordings are posted a couple of days after the class has happened. So there's quite a body of classes that is building up there. If that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with that link. Right, Gemini, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Gemini, please? Right, there's the first one. We have the Fool on its side, which is very interesting. For your recent past, or about current energy, please? We have the Page of Swords. What about what's coming towards Gemini, please, for October? We have the 3 of Wands. This looks like a plan that's going into action. We do have the Queen of Cups at the bottom of the deck there. I mean, that represents a sign of Cancer. And what do we have sitting in Cancer at the moment? We've got Jupiter sitting in Cancer, which is very nice. I mean, the Queen of Cups is very much about helping us work through how we feel about something, right? The queens are the internalized subjective processing of an energy, whereas when we get to a king is about the external expression of that, right? It's very active. It's quite literally the doing of something. Now, I want to just get some clarifiers before I say any more, but this looks to me like the beginning of an upward trajectory. Anyway, tell me about the Fool card. Why is this here for Gemini, please? Goodness. Right, so we have a shit ton of cards. We've got the 6 of Wands, we've got the 10 of Pentacles, we've got the 9 of Swords, and we've got the Temperance card. Bit of a roller coaster there, Gemini. I'll sort those out in a minute and make them straight. Let's have a look and see what there. 2 of Swords. Do you know what? That can go there as well. I think it's interesting that landed face down so that we couldn't really see what it even was. And we turn it over, and that's pretty much the meaning of the card. Anyway, tell me about this Page of Swords, please. Oh, goodness. There you are, Gemini, with the Lover's card. But we also have the 3 of Cups. And tell me about the 3 of Wands, please. Oh, there we got 1. 8 of Pentacles. 1 more for the 3 of Wands, please. That's not 1. Behave. Right. 2 of Cups, the Chariot. Well, that's very nice. That's Cancer as well, which is interesting. We've got a lot of Cancerian energy. What do we have here? The Queen of Swords on her side. Interesting. Right. Page of Swords is also at the bottom of this deck here. Now, the Page of Swords doesn't really have an astrological correspondence. It's almost a bit like a wild card, right? It's a starting point on the journey of the hierarchy of the court. And the card that would usually represent you within that is the Knight of Swords, right? And we've got then meanings that are very mercurial in nature, actually, specifically for Gemini, which is about the transmission of information, right? It's stuff moving around, it's ideas. It's Gemini is almost like the embodiment of the mimetic quality of the power of an idea, right? And Gemini shuttles that about. But you're also about the integration of perspectives. And I think it's quite interesting that what we don't see here is the Knight of Swords, but we do see the Page appearing twice. Just double check. Yeah, it is. Page appearing twice. Let's get these cards where you can actually see them, because this is ridiculous. Because this suggests it's a kind of step back from the point where you're kind of doing the integration of perspectives and pushing out these new ideas to all and sundry who may listen to it. Now, I think I'm seeing enough here in what's coming towards you in October to feel like there's some sort of momentum that is building over the course of where you have been to what the full expression of October will be. But I think it's quite interesting that this Queen of Swords who's appearing down here is on her side as well, because it's like there's a linearity that we would like to see that is not showing up here. And yet, even despite that, there's still this sense that there's a positivity emanating from the reading, right? So I need something to fiddle. I'm going to fiddle with this little dog actually while I'm talking to you. I'm going to do that instead. I'm going to use them to point at things. So we start over here with the Fool, and this is interesting because the Fool is many things, as all of the cards in the tarot are. But generally speaking, we like to see it when the Fool is in the upright, because this indicates new beginnings. It indicates the start of some sort of new cycle. Sometimes along with that we have messages of needing to kind of leap into the void, because the Fool walks in perfect faith and perfect trust, right? Because he just doesn't know any better, quite frankly. It's the initiating point of anything, or certainly of the hero's journey, that progresses all the way along to the world. Now, when he shows up on his side, I have a theory about sideways cards, and this is purely mine. I've never read it anywhere. But what I do see from sideways cards when they show up is that we're either catching a snapshot in time where we're seeing something moving from a reversed to an upright state, or an upright state to a reversed state, whereby it's going from, in the case of the Fool, it's going from a kind of aborted false start, right, where we've tried to do something and it hasn't quite taken off, which would be the Fool reversed, more work needed, to the upright, where it's just actually we can fling ourselves into the void and that's all great and all that kind of thing. Secondarily, the way that I see this is that we've got an energy that's kind of shuffling into view, right? I've used this example before, and I think it works really nicely actually. Imagine a stage production, where everybody's lining up in the wings, ready to come out and issue their lines, and do the acting, whatever it is that they're going to do. The energies are all kind of shuffling in, getting ready to be activated, but they're waiting for their cue. They're waiting for the thing that will be the catalyst for the movement of them coming in. I do feel like it's been the latter for you. A sense of kind of change coming in on the wind, a need at some point to do something that is new, because there is a novelty obviously with the Fool card, and something that changes the obvious progression of your life into something different, right? Which is what novelty always does. It gives us something new to work with. Not yet activated though. Shuffling into the wings, but not yet activated. But it becomes very interesting when we start looking at the clarifiers down here, because we've got the Six of Wands, we've got the Ten of Pentacles. Traditionally, these are considered to be positive cards, right? And then what the fuck is the Nine of Swords doing right in the middle of all of that? And then we have the Temperance card again. And I think it's, when I said at the beginning, it felt like a bit of a roller coaster for you. The Six of Wands is Jupiter in Leo, right? It's a very, very positive card of success, quite often conspicuous public success, right? So is it we've done something well and we've been seen to have done something well. And maybe that's something well that we've done is simply holding our shit together in a world that is collapsing around us, right? It can be all sorts of examples, but more generally that could be something that we would take here, right? But then we come to this Ten of Pentacles. Now, like I said, it's often given to be a positive card, and really it is. But every single card within the tarot, and I think it's very important that people understand that, contain within them polarities and duality, right? Which is to say that there is no card that is all good or all bad in the tarot. It is, in fact, a healthy blend of both at all times. And if we don't look at both sides of it, sometimes we can get caught short, because the Ten of Pentacles, as indeed the Ten of Cups can do the same, can be a source of real suffering for us if we are not careful. So with that in mind, and the fact that the Nine of Swords is the next card along, I do feel like there is something around the idea of security and stability that is proving to be problematic for you right now. The Ten of Pentacles suggests an end, a completion, right? Some sort of story that we're wanting to wrap up. And notice that the Fool, who is shuffled into, a state of readiness but isn't actually activated yet, is right there. And we know that in order to embrace the new, we have to make space for it. But there's something about security, stability, what we have worked to create up until this point, needing to be the thing that we let go in order to create the space. And that has been causing you some issues. Now, to be clear, the Nine of Swords is not simply about just having a hard time mentally about stuff. I mean, it talks about all sorts of things. It can talk about insomnia, it can talk about anxiety, it can talk about worry, it can talk about all sorts of things. Just a really strong concern about things. And in this case, all the things that I've mentioned, but the Ten of Pentacles can talk to business, it can speak to money, it can speak to your home, it can speak to your literal house, it can speak to your family, it can speak to inheritance. It has a finger in all of these pies. I mean, it also talks to me about generational trauma and generational karma, but I don't think that's necessarily a topic for today. So what is the concern around your stability while you are at the same time feeling like on some level you are kind of winning? It feels like things should be moving, but they're not. You can kind of feel this energy being here, and yet things are not moving forwards. Maybe you're thinking about moving house. Maybe you're thinking about winding down a business or starting a business. Maybe you've got concerns about how it's actually, whether it is providing for you in the way that you would want it to. Maybe you've got concerns around the well-being of your family in all respects. It's like this entwined kind of set of energies, almost looking a little bit like a DNA helix is how it's being shown to me, where there's this, I know I'm on the right path, I know I'm doing the right thing, but then why the fuck is this being so difficult? Why can't I work out what this is all about? And then in the middle, well, not in the middle, but actually, advocating for the middle way is the Temperance card. Now, Temperance is, again, like all of the cards, multivalent, which means it means lots of different things, and it depends very much on the context of where it shows up in the reading. But the Temperance card will always advocate for the middle road. It will always advocate for the balance of trying to hold two states. And this is something that's been coming up a lot in the readings that I've been doing, not just for October, but I've seen it in the weekly readings as well, like holding the tension of opposites. And you've been doing this for a while, but there seems to be something that is kind of pushing to make this Nine of Swords something that you have been having to look at properly. It's insufficient for you to just allow this anxiety to rise. It's like, why is it here? What does it want? How do I resolve it? How do I find the middle road? How do I find the healing? Which is another way of looking at this Temperance card, right? I know I have defeated or bested a lot of the challenges that have been sent my way so far, and I've walked a very long road. I feel like emotionally I'm in a good place, but there's this gnawing at my ankles, and I'm sort of missing the information that I need to resolve it, is what it feels like, right? I want to pull up, where's this deck here? Because the Two of Swords here would say there's something that you've been missing. There's a piece of the puzzle that has not been integrated into this process, where you've been trying to work out where you stand. And I think that's probably the biggest thing here. On some levels, you're very clear about where you stand. On other levels, it's nowhere near as solid. And we also have this awareness of change that is incoming, and you can feel it knocking on your door, Gemini. But how do we start synthesizing it to bring everything together? Oh, that one wanted to come out, whatever that is. Four of Cups. Well, that's very interesting, because it says then That's a Cancer card too. That there's an emotional basis for the difficulties that you're feeling right now, right? And that would make sense if it's something that you're trying to make decisions about on an intellectual basis, and it's actually the emotional stuff in the background. It would explain why, in the present moment, the Queen of Swords is not showing up in a particularly dignified state. She's certainly not showing up in a state whereby she can be helpful to you, because she's on her side. The Queen's, for me, just as the Queen of Cups helps you understand how you feel, the Queen of Swords is about making sense of what you think, right? So the Knight of Swords has presented the Queen of Swords with all of this information that he's gathered up, and he's transmitted it across to her. And she's like, right, okay. And now she's the sifting and sorting part of it. Is this true? Is this not? Is it useful? Is it not? When the Queen of Swords shows up in her strongest state, she's an incredibly good ally for helping us kind of sniff out the truth of any given situation. The Gemini archetype isn't necessarily as aligned with a need to deal only with the truth, because there are so many competing perspectives that are coming in all the time. The Gemini job is to make sure they get to where they need to go so that they can be sifted and sorted. But the Queen of Swords is not really very helpful at this point, and it makes sense when we look at the cards over here, because there's something that's being dealt with on an intellectual level by you at this point, and actually the root of the issue is an emotional one. The Four of Cups can speak to rejection, rejecting, all these sorts of things, the act of rejecting something else. It can speak to abandonment issues and all this kind of thing. But it also speaks about boredom and ennui and a certain apathy to things. And it's like, it's making me wonder if you've become more... How do I want to phrase what I'm feeling here? It's almost like you feel like you're missing something to emotionally invest in. It's not that there are dark things that are lurking around in your psyche, emotional in nature, which are telling you that you can't do this or you can't do the other, or why are you even trying, or anything like that. It's more like there's a restlessness here that you're trying to deal with on an intellectual level, but it's sitting in the emotional somewhere. And it's almost like there's something missing, Gemini. Something for you to emotionally connect to. And I don't know why that would be the case, but it explains why the Queen of Cups is here in the upright rather than the Queen of Swords, because what the Queen of Swords does, and this is why she's really very good at sniffing out the truth of things, is she puts emotion to one side. Now, we can see, in the Two of Swords, we can see in the Queen of Swords, like, that isn't necessarily a good idea if what you're trying to deal with is the emotional stuff. So what is missing from the picture for you right now? Because there's something about integrating the emotional which helps push a decision one way or another, and I'm not getting the feeling that you've quite put your hands on what that is, Gemini, right? So because I do feel like you want to invest. That's the thing. Like, there is a desire for investment. There's a desire to... we'll actually see it over here. We'll talk about that in a second, right? So when we find ourselves kind of looking around and finding it difficult to work out what's going on, as a general principle, I find it useful to go back to basics, right? Examine everything that we have... What's the word that I'm looking for? Just assumed is correct. Just assumed it is where it needs to be, and assumed it's right, and so on and so forth, right? This taking a step back to the Page of Swords is saying, actually, there's much more information here that I have not incorporated, and at some point in my attempt to integrate all of these things together to come up with something that makes sense to me as Gemini, I've missed something because an assumption has been made somewhere. Now you'll notice that you've got the Page of Swords down here as a shadow card accompanying the Queen of Cups. And this is important because the Queen of Cups will help you process. She will look at the underlying reasons for this, that and the other, and she will work out how she feels about it. But the Page of Swords is there as an accompanier because there are bits of information that are missing, and the Page of Swords will do that gathering of information. And so we see him here also in the present moment doing very important work, trying to gather up what it is, you know, what's been missed somewhere, what is missing. And then we have the Three of Cups and the Lovers. And I think what's really interesting about this, Gemini, is it's suggesting that the answer isn't something that you will necessarily find in the conscious looking for this information. More, it's something that's going to be delivered to you by someone else. We can sometimes see the Temperance card as a divine messenger, actually. We'd see it as divine orchestration and all sorts of things, right? But the Three of Cups is about your emotional support networks. It's about people. It's about your peers. It's about being sociable. It's about getting out there and seeing other people's perspectives as well, you know, as being useful in giving you the information for the whole. Now, usually that's not something that Gemini struggles with, right? You're an incredibly sociable sign. But I don't know if you've been a little bit withdrawn recently, or maybe you've decided that there's a limited value to what people are sharing with you at this point, such that you've then just kind of tuned them out a little bit, and you're like, I'm working on this problem, I need to think about this problem. Because what the cards are saying to me here, with both the Three of Cups and the Lovers card, which do have baked into both the idea of coming together, and then, you know, that's not even withstanding the fact that the Lovers card represents the sign of Gemini. Coming together. It's saying there's a lot of benefit to you just getting out there and talking to people. Not to any particular end. Not even, you know, I've got this problem, let me lay it out for you so that other people can give you their perspectives. It feels like the message is coming in a lot more subtle than that. It feels like all you really need to do is just show up and be open at this point, because I think until you're able to put your finger on what it is that is missing and why it is that you don't feel like you can quite emotionally engage with something as much as you would like to, whatever that is, you know, maybe that is your community around you, I don't know. Until you put your finger on what that is, you're not going to know how to complete the puzzle. It's Three of Cups. Right, we've got the Seven of Wands, the light in the darkness, and we've also got the Five of Cups on its side. Now, although the Four of Cups is obviously like a natural precondition for this Five of Cups here, and we might, by my previous rhetoric, see this Five of Cups as something that is shuffling into view, I still don't actually think that it's yours. I feel like this is something that you are going to be dealing with in time. And I don't know why that is. I mean, you don't have to look very far around to see that the world is in a very poor state, that emotional regulation is something that people seem to have forgotten en masse how to do. Sorry for pausing, but I'm just like processing an awful lot of information here. Do you know what you've forgotten, Gemini? You've forgotten that you're a light in the darkness for other people. You've been scratching around for the answer to this particular problem that you've been having. And you got to the point where you've I don't want to say you got locked up in your head, because I don't think it is quite that you got locked up in your head, although you do seem to be going backwards and forwards over the same thing. But it's almost like you've lost sight of yourself. You don't see yourself as this being of light that you actually are. You know, in some ways, a lot of things feel very good, right? There's that one strand of the helix that I was talking about. But the other strand of the helix is, I have this problem, I'm trying to work this out, and you have defaulted to your natural state, which is to try and run as much information through your brain as possible. And in the best tradition of these things, it seems to me that the answer is actually staring you right in the face, and you've completely overlooked it. And there are many strands to that too, but like one of them is just trust and faith. You know, these are the perfect conditions for the fool to turn himself the right way up. But what the world needs from you right now, Gemini, is for you to just show up and be there. Be you, more importantly. You know, whenever a sign shows up, particularly in major arcana form, in their own reading, we're always dealing with matters of identity and authenticity and these kinds of things, right? The Lover's card is about union, it's about harmony, it's about drawing people together. You as, you know, a magnet that can draw people together, or the glue that holds certain social situations together, right? But it's almost like you've forgotten how special you are. You've forgotten that this is an integral part of your role, your service, is to be a light in the darkness for people. It's almost like you've plunged so far into your own dark spaces, looking for the reason why the logical stuff isn't showing up the way that it should be, so that you can solve this puzzle and you can put it to bed. That you've got a kind of, I don't know, have you been isolating yourself a little bit, Gemini? And choosing not to be around people while you're trying to crack this code, you're trying to crack this problem. Like the presence of the Temperance card, the presence of the Three of Cups, they're speaking to a need to allow the information to come via a different route. The Queen of Cups is pointing to the fact that the information will come via a different route, but you're not stranded, because this Page of Swords, which is your page, right? It's in a suit that you are innately familiar with. Is saying, okay, if we are looking for information through the lens of the Queen of Cups, then we're looking for a different kind of information. It's not necessarily going to be solid and evidence-based and fact-based. It's going to be much more intuitive. It's going to be much more empathetic than the way that we would usually attempt to find this. And the problem that you're trying to crack on your own, the solution will be given to you by people, if you are open to people being messengers in that way. And in the meantime, your job is to be a light in the darkness for the people who are slowly sliding into a Five of Cups state. To some extent, what I'm seeing here is a kind of trust the process, Gemini. Like don't lock yourself up in your own head. Certainly don't lock yourself up in your own tower. Get out there, be gregarious, be sociable, speak to people. Not to find the answer, but just to be, and to be you, so that people can see you, people can be inspired by you. And one of those, inadvertently, will show you what it is that you are looking for. So when we move into October, then, we have the Three of Wands and we have the Chariot card. Both of these represent movement. The Chariot is very strong movement, but it's movement of self as much as anything else, right? Because the Chariot card represents a sign of Cancer, just like the Queen of Cups here. It is everything to do with the self. It's the internal balancing mechanism, just as the Temperance card was pointing out over there, right? This is a case of self-balance found. We've got an integration of different perspectives, quite literally, by the presence of the sphinxes here, right? One black, one white, got the negative and the positive, like polarity, the night and day, light and shadow, all of those kind of things, right? All integrated seamlessly so that the Chariot can move forwards. Now, you've been wanting to move forwards in some sort of way, but unsure as to how to do it. By the time October's fully played out, what we've got is a situation where you've got all of the information that you were looking for because you chose to look for it differently. You chose to perhaps feel your way around rather than think your way around. And the Three of Wands is talking about this forward motion, like things are in motion. Anything that's been feeling sticky is now moving forward. But it's these two cards here that I think are really quite fascinating, because we've got the Two of Cups. We have the influence of relationships on this whole process right here, being open to hearing people. Now, the difference between the Three of Cups and the Two of Cups is the level of intimacy experienced, and the fact that the Three of Cups speaks to multiple people, whereas the Two of Cups is about a one-on-one relationship, right, where important values are shared. For me, it's totally a card of alignment and intimacy, right? And we've got the Eight of Pentacles, which is talking about work. Now, this can be like the literal work that you do to earn pennies, or it can be talking about your great work, right? What it is it's talking about the increase in skill. Now, I think that because the sociability stuff is being highlighted as so important for you, and coming together with people, maybe even being somewhat of a magnet or a hub that is drawing people in, there's something very strong in terms of the skill level that is upping with you in dealing with people individually. We've got increased compassion, we've got increased empathy, but we've also got this being the piece of the puzzle that was missing for you, right? If it is indeed the having something to invest in that is important to you, if it's starting to feel like that's the thing that's missing, and because you're not emotionally invested, then you don't have the drive, the motivation to do more with that thing, it's just kind of just looking around all the time, then what we're seeing here is exposure to other people is the thing that is showing you what to invest in, right? And maybe it is people around you, maybe it is people within your immediate environment, right? Your community. Well, let's face it, right? Community can be anything nowadays. Like, I have an online community, and I'm closer with a lot of people in that than I am with people in real life. Just because it's digital or in the digital space, it doesn't mean that it's any less intimate, right? There's something very cohesive about the energy of October here that is seeing you draw something together because you got the information from a different place. It was the missing piece of all of this. And people will be increasingly more important as time goes on, Gemini. Not just to you, but to everyone. I've been banging on about community since 2020 because I really do feel like that's how we make it through, particularly for whatever next year's got in store for us, right? We have to have that point of contact with other people, and we have to recognize where the rapid evolution of people is going on right now, right? So there may be people who, had some fairly low vibration thought processes 6 months ago who have completely fucking changed in this last 6 months. 2025 has changed everyone, and no one is exempt from the tentacles of change that have been coming in here, right? So when it comes to locking in on community being really important, and the emotional engagement with community being the thing that's actually been missing, it's the thing that's been making you restless, it's been the thing that's making you bored, even if you are on the precipice of a great change that you are trying to make in your life. Thinking about this full combination with the Ten of Pentacles, right, where we're looking to maybe even move ourselves to a different area. Does that mean that you have to withdraw yourself and your attention and your energy from the people that are currently around you? I don't think so. I mean, we all naturally do it, but I don't think that that's the case for you. It's like every person that you're speaking to is giving you information, and we know that you like information, but it's doing something bigger than that, and your skill set is getting an upgrade, and it needs other people to do it. Now, by the end of October, I think you'll have a much clearer idea of what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, and what you're actually going to do. But if I was to write you a prescription for October, Gemini, it's get out and speak to as many different people as possible, and not with the expectation that they're going to give you an answer, or any of those things. It's like, go be with people, go show people who you are, and what you need will find you this month, which is fascinating. Right, I'm going to go over to the extended now. You're very welcome to join me if you would like to do so. You can do that on Selfie, you can do that on Circle. Links for both are in the description box below. If that's not your bag, that's absolutely fine. Get out and speak to people, though, Gemini. Just show them who you are. Just chat to them. Just allow the universe. Trust and have faith in the universe that what you need will be given to you this month, because by the end of the month, everything feels different, and that's the important thing. It feels different. So, know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.